Hey, 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 look at this. We got a special guest going on again. Welcome to our Wednesday evening CNC Router Hangout, brothers and sisters. I messaged Mark Lindsay today. I said, hey, Mark, you want to jump on tonight? He said, why not, Garrett? And so here he is. They-
Yeah.
uh, Mark may just be a regular here. Anyway, I'm Garrett with IDC Woodcraft that way. And then, of course, we got
Kate.
Kate, yeah,
Kate
from Women
Tucker
Who.
from Women Who CNC. It's nice to see. Nice to be back. I can't believe it's Wednesday already. Gosh, I feel like we just hung out with you guys on Saturday. I mean, are you just like tired of us hanging out? That's why we brought Mark on. You're probably sick and tired of talking to just us. So no,
Right.
we love having Mark.
I don't know
Well,
about you, but the weather here today was fantastic. Last 3 days.
Yes, absolutely. It was so nice. It was a little warm. I took my black lab out and we did about a 3 mile walk. And by the time we made it back to our driveway, he literally crossed into our driveway and then like plopped in the gravel. Like, I'm done. I can't walk anymore. I'm like, dude,
Hey,
it's like,
hey, you see that? Did you see that cup that Mark was just sipping out of?
ah,
Look at that! Look at that!
I love it.
this is called product placement.
That's
It
product
just
placement.
sits in the background, and you don't
Right, right.
attract attention
Product
to it.
placement. Right, right.
No,
Very
thank you
cool.
very much for the cup. It actually is working out as a shop cup very well. So thank you
Good,
for that. I just
good.
have
You're
to
welcome.
remember there's no handle.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Mark was saying that he's only allowed one cup in the shop because you're kind of dangerous on him, or what?
Well, I can have as many cups as I want. They just can't be ceramic. I'm banned from ceramic out of the house because I, on a good day I'm a klutz. On a bad day, watch out. Just stay in bed. Some days I'm just happy to be outside without a helmet on. So
Oh,
That
um, I,
without a helmet
I've
on.
had that old convenience store coffee mug for 15 years, something like that.
Okay.
So it was time
oh
for a
my
new one.
gosh.
Gotcha.
Well,
All right. Well, I've got boxes of them up there, Mark. So if you ever crash that one, just say, hey, I need another
Well,
one.
well, Jack in the shop over there said, "Hey, Mark, where'd you get that cup?" Jack, I know a fella. I know a
I know,
fella.
right? We're always like, hold on, that way.
That
There we
way.
go.
Yeah. We once in a while when we ship stuff out, and if you order more than $100, you get the option to have a cup, or you can opt out of it because some people they said, I've already got 3 cups, I don't need any more. So we had to put a little pop up that says, I already got my cup. But if you order over $100 for the product from IDC, then you get one of those little handy dandy things along with your pen and your
Mhm.
your M&Ms and all that good stuff.
It's a very nice pen too, and I
That
love it because it's rose gold, and that's my favorite.
that
I
is
don't
a
know why, but
very nice pen.
it
I,
is.
I
It is a
I
very nice
got
pen.
I got to open the package and I got out the cup, which I immediately said, "This is mine," and set it aside. And I got some stickers and what have you, and
Nice.
the beast. And I got to hold the pen in my hand for about 0.2 seconds, and it's gone. So
Oh no.
I think it works good. I'm not sure.
Right,
It's
right.
so funny because I think everybody can say that has received anything from IDC in the mail on any type of regular basis. My kids come in with the mail and they just like tear it open and then they dump it out and there goes the bits and all the stuff and then they like hightail it with the M&Ms. I'm like, hey, hey,
Mhm.
hey, I didn't even get a chance.
That's it. That's going to cost you 50 cents. Cough them up.
I know, right?
I,
I know.
I've
We were
heard
doing
that.
laundry last night, and my kids, there was $2. My daughter found one, and my son found one, and they were like, "Find your keepers." I was like, "And who collected the laundry and washed it and dried it?" And they're like,
Yeah.
"Finders keepers." I was like,
And fold up your throw clothes and put it in your bedroom. When they say, "Mom, where's my socks?" Finders keepers. I didn't see
There you
nobody
go.
else at the dryer.
All
right.
right. Well, Kate,
Oh my
Kate,
gosh.
why don't we say some hellos? See who's on board here.
All right. So I am seeing on my end, I'm seeing Oz was the first one on here. Did I maybe? I mean, it looks like he is on my end, but I'm not sure if he was. So Oz, congratulations on
Um,
being
I'm, I'm
first.
showing, yeah, I'm showing Oz too.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, he says it looks like 10:44 a.m. You are on top of it, my friend. You're cracking me up with that. All right, so let's see. Julie Frink and her husband Tom, they just got back from being in the desert, looking forward to sitting down with us. We've got Wooden Tobacco Accessories, which is also Tim Nudd. We've got Todd. Looks like he's got a few questions in there. Brandon, he says, hello, how did the table turn out with big old question marks, red question marks? My goodness. All right, we'll talk about that here in a little bit. We've got Ellen, we've got Chuck Freed. Let's see, we've got Norman. Hello, we've just got lots of good people. We've got Rob. There's Mark. He's in there chatting.
Hello, Mark.
Yeah. All right,
Not the mark on the screen, the mark that's chatting.
Yes, we've got Jean, and then the yard sale. Isn't that your friend? I can't remember his name tonight for some reason. The Yard Sale LLC.
Oh yeah, that's Harold. That's a brother Harold.
Okay. Looks like we've got Geoff, Gary Lynn, Jack in the Shop's back, Jim Pitts, James Freeman, Guy Allen. We've got some good people on here tonight. So if you're new, always make sure to pop in and say, hey, say this is my first time joining, and you'll get a shout out. So
also, when you ask questions, make sure you put the word question in front or a bunch of question marks. It helps us catch them. We have our operator in the background, Julianne. So make sure everybody you say hello to Julianne, just so we can acknowledge that she's there. She is the coordinator, the administrative coordinator for IDC Woodcraft, and she keeps things in line and is making things much more organized and make sure that this is running smoothly and well and catching all the questions. All right, so I got a couple of announcements, and then Kate, if you have any announcements you'd like to share, and then we'll dive into maybe what our topic can be tonight is when things go wrong in our CNC journey. Okay. Perhaps because we all run into stuff that have things that go wrong, and it may be an opportune moment to be discussing things that go wrong, unfortunately.
We're being very what is the word I'm looking for here? Transparent. Read through the lines, grasshoppers. Read through the lines.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yep. Take a deep breath and what have you. Okay, so what I want to share, I've got a couple things coming up. One is if you all know about the Hog CNC router bit, and then the Beast. Mark, I just shipped one out to Mark so he can toy around with that badass thing. And I've had a bunch of people, there it is. And a bunch of people say, can you come out with a 1/8 inch in the roughing series? And I have just about finished my testing with one. We call it the Badger. All right. And it's a 1/8 thing. And sometimes think, why would we want something like that? But when you're doing small details and you want to like a Aztec calendar where you got just a ton of work you got to pull out, that's when you'd want something like that. And I'll show you what this little Badger looks like. But that thing has run through that piece of ash that you gave me, Kate, and 140 inches per minute. Are we showing that on the screen?
Yes, sir.
We are.
There it is. Looks just like the Beast. Yep. 140 inches per minute, 80% step over, 1/4 inch deep, and I said 140 inches per minute. And so it's just knocking out the stuff lightning fast. So I've been starting to shoot some video on it. And so there we go. I've got a couple of other things. Oh, by the way, those who are on the CNC Insiders list, they already know this. When IDC Woodcraft releases a product, they get a 15% discount when it gets released. So if you are not on the CNC Insiders list, you want to make sure you get on it, because I don't do that publicly. And we have a bunch of links in the description of these videos, so you can find the CNC Insiders list there. So, and then I've got a couple other things coming down the pike. So you want to say something?
No, I'm just taking it
Okay.
in.
Yep, I've got two more things. I'm talking to a couple of the CNC companies, and they are, we're talking CNC Insiders discounts already. And I've already emailed the Insiders about another discount of something that literally is going to be music to your ears. So we have received the package, but I'm not going to really tell you what it is right now. And I've got another thing coming as well. So just letting you know. And the last thing from now on, whenever a package goes out, we just got them in. We got the chucking chart.
Nice.
I've had more people break, I've seen enough breaks and router bits from people chucking them up wrong that I said, this has to go out. And so that is going to be going out from now on. And Mark, I listened to you, brother, for the check. Okay, so this is the CNC router setup checklist, right? Which Mark uses all the time. And I've thrown it past him for some final touch-ups, and he said, Garrett, you don't have hearing protection on there. So I told my designer, get hearing protection on that thing. So if you want that checklist on the homepage of idcwoodcraft.com, a pop-up will come up and you can get it there.
Very
All right,
cool.
that's all my announcements. I just sucked up about 5 minutes still and all that stuff. Let's talk.
It's got to be
You're
done. It's
fine.
got to be done.
Yeah,
And it's good info.
Yeah, you got to get all the good stuff out. So you got to make, we talked last week about wanting to do something for St. Jude, and you released in the Insiders list.
Oh
That's
my gosh,
huge.
I totally forgot. Well, it's even on my, no, it's not on my list. So thanks to everybody. Every quarter, IDC Woodcraft donates to St. Jude, right? So every time you purchase from IDC Woodcraft, a portion of that goes to St. Jude. And so we just finished the numbers for the quarter 3, and we have been able to donate $7,000. So we donated $6,000 to St. Jude, and because my daughter, she is in something called Missing Alexis, which is an organization for kids who have lost their babies. And my third grandson, her third son, died in her arms when he was 20 days old, right? And so I contributed $1,000 to that as well.
Yeah,
so thank you.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I love a company that gives back. They don't just keep it all. They really make that donation and give back.
That's $22,000 we donated this year. My goal is $30,000.
Right.
That's awesome. I mean, that's so cool. I love that. I love that. And St. Jude is such an incredible organization too. I mean,
I know firsthand. I know firsthand. And Mark knows almost firsthand, as he just shared with me a couple days ago.
Yeah, St. Jude's is very near and dear to our heart. Our niece was treated at St. Jude's, and basically they saved her, and she's alive today because of them. So it's very near and dear to my heart. So from me to you, Garrett, thank you for doing what you do.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Just to put it on a personal level.
Yeah, it definitely, it takes a village. It really does to keep those organizations moving and going. So, yeah. All right. Well, if you guys are ready, you ready to tackle some questions? And I'm seeing Julian has 32 questions starred for us. So, are you guys ready?
Let's rock it out. Let's do it.
All right. Let's try and keep this. We'll try and get everybody answered. Just so you guys know, we've received your feedback, and we've said that you guys have asked us to move through the questions maybe a little bit quicker and not elaborate as much on some of the questions. So we'll try to do that for you guys, because we hear you, we're listening, so we want to try and do we want to do what you want, because that's what we're here for. We're here for you guys. So all right, let's and I'm going to do a lot of the reading tonight. Garrett had some work done on his eye, so if you hear my voice a lot tonight, so sorry about your luck. All right, so Todd from Cape Cut Boards, he says, hi there, I am helping my 14-year-old daughter start a business. She has delegated to me to learn V-carve so that she can concentrate on the epoxy and creative side. So he's got a couple follow-ups. In VCarve, is it possible to create a vector in toolpaths and then have it automatically resize to different size project layouts? So he's got one more. He says, example, if you create a cutting board shape in toolpaths and then you want to have that automatically resized to a different material board sizes when you enter a new project. Thank you.
Well, you want to grab that one, Mark?
Okay. The short answer is no. The long answer is, even if you save it as a template file, which I would encourage you to do, you will have to go in and still enter your material size and then resize the vectors and then recalculate the tool paths. But to be honest with you, as you get better with the software and as you learn it and you learn those commands, it just took me longer to tell you to do that than it does to actually do it. As you're going to open up the file, you'll go in and enter your material size, hit OK, go over and scale up your vectors, and then go over and click one button to recalculate all tool paths, and you're done. Then you're ready to save the new G code and go drive on.
Yep.
Right. So that's using the scale tool.
Yes,
Correct.
using set selected object size. But even then, we tend to get hung up on numbers. Don't forget your eyes. Sometimes what looks good is good. So if it doesn't have to be a specific size, then if it looks good, it is good.
Yep.
You know, because I'm serious, you can drive yourself nuts trying to get something exactly in the middle. But when you step back and look at the project, you can't tell if that's a 1/16 of an inch too high or too low. It looks good. That's good enough.
Yep.
Guilty.
That's the point that I try to press home all the time, where when you're making a project, we see everything, but the receivers, see the whole message. They don't see all the fine details. So try to keep that in mind. Don't be so hard on yourself.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, absolutely. I just said that exact same thing to one of my students today was, what is the person that is getting the project going to see? Are they going to notice that it's a tiny little thing, or are you just being a little too OCD? That's usually on me. So
it's real easy to zoom in too close. Yeah. It really is. It's really easy to zoom in too close.
Yeah.
So just step back, breathe, take a look at it. That looks good. Then it is good.
You're right. Okay. All right. Loaded question for Mr. Brandon. He says, hello, how did the table turn out? All right, well, Brandon.
Let us preface what happened, what we did Saturday for those who weren't there.
Yeah, so what we did Saturday, we actually, I'm going to hide this question. So Saturday, we did a live on Garrett's YouTube channel and on mine. And we poured a 4-foot by 3-foot transparent epoxy river table with 2 big pieces of maple that I sanded down and did all the work for. I built the mold, and it was about a 2-hour live. We went through the entire process of basically Garrett not knowing anything about, not knowing anything, but he knows enough to be dangerous, but not enough to do something on this particular level.
No, I know enough to be dangerous, put it that way. That's where it stops when it comes to epoxy.
So he did, he asked a ton of questions. We had a lot of questions from the people that joined us Saturday, which was great. But what happened was, so we stopped pouring at 2 inches because that's what it says on the bottle to stop pouring at. Steve from Upstart Epoxy is the brand that we used. We used the deep pour, and he says you can actually pour up to 4 inches. So what we did was we poured the table up to the 2 inches. I waited about 36 hours, and then I poured the last layer of epoxy on. So what happens is with the deep pour, when you get to your 2 inches, if you want to pour an additional layer, you can wait that 36 because it takes about 72 hours for it to really cure. So for the 2 layers to bond together, you still want it to be a little bit tacky. You don't want it to be like, hard surface, because then you have to sand and that makes a whole mess. So you just want to go ahead and let the epoxy cure, pour on the second layer, or pour on that last coat. But when I did that, I feel like it might have been the icing on the cake for, I won't say disaster to strike, but there are a ton of like bubbles, and we just had a really bad exothermic reaction that happened. It just got too hot. Honestly, I've been racking my brain because I've literally did every single thing that was required. I followed the letter of the law with this epoxy. I've worked with Upstart Epoxy numerous times. It's probably the #1 brand I recommend for deep pours, and I've never really had any problems with it. So I'm wondering if, maybe we got a bad batch, something happens. Mark was just telling me about something he got in the mail today that was damaged. So, crap happens. And we're just going to kind of like run with it. I was about in tears when I called Garrett because I woke up. I babysat it till about 1:30, almost 2 o'clock in the morning, and decided to go to bed at that point. And I woke up in the morning and there was a crack through the middle of it all the way down. So it's, like I said, the board's about 4 foot. So about a foot in is where the crack is. It's probably about 6 inches wide, but it is a clean crack all the way down and through. So it's it's devastating. I'm not gonna lie. Garrett's pretty disappointed too. But the entire table is about 2.5 inches thick. So the good news is we can surface off a lot of those surface bubbles, and we're gonna pivot, we're gonna adjust, and Garrett can give you his thoughts on it.
Well, my thoughts are shit sometimes happens. And when it happens, we just gotta, I mean, it's not easy when it happens, but we can't do anything about what's done in the past. Right. And so
Yeah.
it's going back and just taking a breather and say, okay, my heart's broken, but we have to move forward. So and so this happens in carves, right? We'll be carving and the project isn't held down well enough, or right in the middle, or when you're getting near the end and the thing kicks off and you get this big gouge all the way across it because the clamps let loose or something like that, right? And it always breaks our heart.
Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
have to pick up the pieces and go on, and it teaches us. Those are the times when we really step back and say, what went wrong here? What can I learn from it? And if you're asking yourself that question, what can I learn from this? Then
Yeah.
it's not a lot so much. Mark, what are your thoughts on something like that?
I agree 100%. It's easy to be a craftsman when everything goes perfect, but it's how you recover from the things that don't go perfect that sets you apart from somebody else. Yeah, I get upset. I, romp and stomp and invent a new language and say things that don't really exist. But at the end of the day, what are you going to do? Now you got to fix it, especially if you've promised something to somebody. Now you got to fix it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I don't know, in some of the Facebook groups and some of the forums, you'll hear things like, well, if you're not breaking bits, you're not learning anything.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that,
Yeah.
because I can break bits all day long and not learn a thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's
That's,
how
I mean, that's
yeah, it's the
it's
truth.
a it's a fair it's a fair statement. Yeah.
It's how you recover from it. When you identify what the problem was, okay, now I know what happened. What do I got to do to recover from that? And that's where you have
Yeah.
to go.
I would say the #1 thing I think that I wish I would have done differently if I were to do another project of this stature is everywhere you look, everywhere you read, they say epoxy needs to be in a room temperature environment like 70 to 75 degrees. Well, the thing to consider is when you're working with a table of this diameter and at not this isn't 2.5 inches, but when you're working with a table about 2.5 inches deep, I wish I would have maybe made the shop a little bit cooler. I mean, I have a pretty good sized shop, and I have one of these things up here above my head.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's the only thing that I would have done differently. I maybe would have had the shop maybe between like 66 and 68 degrees instead of more like, 70 degrees. That would have been the only thing. And I did have, after Garrett left, I did put 2 fans. Like I have, so like here's my big work table, and then where I'm sitting is actually where the epoxy is. And I had 2 big fans, going across it, because as we talked about in the live, when you're doing those things, it's not really relevant, like the little itty bitty fine dust particles, because those are going to get surfaced off or sanded off anyway. So I think that might have been the only thing that I would have, the number one thing, not the only thing, the number one thing I probably would have done differently is to really watched that. But I don't want to hold up all the time on that. But I just want to say, for those of you that have been following along with my journey on YouTube, I am going to be taking you along with how we're going to recover, what we're going to do next, the surfacing, the sanding, the polishing, adding the legs, the whole bit and bangle. It's going to be a little bit of adventure. So you'll just have to kind of ride the wave with me. So, all right, let's see. Who do we got? Who do we have
I
next?
like WXX RYY, whatever, whoever that is. I said sometimes your mistakes look better than what you had planned.
Oh, I love that. That's such a good perspective.
Yeah.
There's truth to that, because you will do things to repair the mistake that maybe you wouldn't normally try and have it work out nicer than you expected.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. All right, so let's pop in a couple fun ones. So Chuck Freed, he says, this is my first time here. I'm new to the CNC world. So much to learn.
It's only beginning.
Welcome. Yep.
Welcome.
Welcome. And make sure you take time to follow the YouTube videos that we create, right? The ones that the 3 of us create are for beginners, right? So,
yep.
And we take it slow, step by step. So sometimes people complain about that in the comments. So you're way too slow. You know what? I'm helping somebody out there. I'm okay with it.
Yep.
Amen. All right, so let's see. We've got my mouse wasn't working there for a second.
Howard.
You said Harold, right?
No,
Howard.
Harold,
I'm so
yeah.
sorry. Howard.
No, it's Harold.
Harold or
That's
Howard?
Harold. It's
Harold.
Harold. Harold Mayberry.
We'll get it right.
Harold Mayberry. Yeah.
All right. I have a customer that is asking if I can do a sign using EVA foam. I have not done that before, and I do not know about it. Please advise.
Not my ballpark. One of you guys is going to have to take this one on.
Okay, I know what EVA foam is, but I've not cut it myself. EVA foam is a closed cell foam, like rubber floor mats. They look like a jigsaw puzzle piece that you put together.
I have those on my floor over
here. Sometimes they're using gym mats for in weight rooms and what have you.
Yeah.
They're also used in toolboxes, and people cut out the tool silhouettes in EVA foam to nest their tools in.
Okay.
I have not personally cut it yet, but one thing I have heard over and over and over again from everybody is do not climb cut foam. Always go for conventional. Do not climb cut EVA foam, because it just looks like it's been ripped to shreds.
Ooh.
But as far as bits, feeds, speeds, anything, I'm the wrong person. I haven't done it yet. I've got some foam back there. That's XPS, though. It's not EVA.
What type of bit
do not
would you
climb
use?
cut. What kind of bit? My mantra is practice and scrap. I would start with a standard old 2-flute end mill, upcut, never a downcut.
Okay.
I would start with that, and if that didn't work, then I might go to an O-flute bit. And if that didn't work, then I start asking questions. You know,
That's a
yeah,
reasonable answer.
I send up flares too. Help.
Right.
I know. I had a friend of mine. I asked a group here in my Onefinity group recently, and I hadn't commented in there in a while, like asking questions. And he's like, "Haven't you already figured this out?" And I was like, "Shh."
If I had, would I be asking? And don't you have a keen eye for detail?
He's just razzing me. He
Yeah.
helped me out so much when we were talking, but he's always one to just razz me. I'm like, I'm just gonna you over there, squish you like a little bug. All right. All right. So let's see. We've got a question from Gary Lynn. He says, hello from Waterford, Michigan. In one of your videos, Garrett, you said that you should always surface your work. Why not include one in your surfacing bits in your startup bit kit?
Include what in my?
So one of your surfacing bits in like your ultimate package kit or your essentials, because he's saying he's asking you told them to surface projects every time.
Yeah. All beginners sets come with a surfacing bit. So right now, IDC Woodcraft has 3 sets that they sell as a starter set, and the first one is the 12-piece set. Right, it's and it's got basically everything you need to get started, including the surfacing bit. It's got V-bits, a ball nose, and it's got down cutters. The other one is for those who are a little more budget-minded, and that's got a 1/4-inch, 1/8-inch down cut, a couple of V-bits, and it's got a surfacing bit. And the third one is for those who have 1/8-inch spindles, and there are, I think, 10 router bits in that, all 1/8-inch shank, including an 1/8-inch shank. The only one I've ever found, an 1/8-inch shank surfacing bit.
That's pretty cool.
I've looked and looked, and I've had so many people ask me, is there a surfacing bit for an 1/8-inch shank thing? I talked to my tooling company. They said, well, we can't do that. And I always tell them when they say they can't, I say, remember what Henry Ford said, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. But I'm going to find somebody that can. It always bites them in the butt, and they figure it out. All right. Yeah. So a 3/4-inch cut with a 1/8-inch shank. All the sets have that. And I'm also getting ready to introduce a bigger set. It's got taper ball nose in it for the 3D carving. It's got other stuff in it. And then we're going to come out with a full-blown Monty of everything I've got.
Oh, I want one of those. No, just teasing. All right, let's see. Jack is being rotten as usual. Hi, Jack. He says, question, will all the questions get answered tonight? Well, currently we have 35 on the docket, and we are only 32 minutes in, so we are going to do our very best.
You are far more diplomatic than I am, because I say no and thank you for playing our game.
I love that. That's how I am on. I have more of a fun personality when on our on my Thursday evening at 7 o'clock in my Women Who CNC group. We do a Thursday evening at 7 o'clock training, and I tend to cut up with the ladies a little bit more and act a little bit more of a goofball than, you know, it's just fun because I mean, it's just you and the computer screen, and then all the ladies are just, they're all chatting, and we're just talking about like, different stuff that's going on and asking goofball questions and just
guilty. I am that goofball. So.
Yep, me too. Mm-hmm. All right, so let's see. So we have a question, or very important. Oh, okay. So this was a good one. I hope they talk about the donations to St. Jude. Yes, absolutely. That is a very, very good one. All right, let's see. If all the questions get answered, I might buy them each a coffee. The challenge is on. Oh.
No. He said, I will buy them each a coffee. Not
there
might.
We go. Rephrase that, and Julian, make sure you spell that.
I will. This is Ellen.
Ellen? Okay. Yeah. I'm going to hold you to it. And I already have coffee.
Get your IDC pen out and write it down, Ellen.
All right. Game on, sister. Let's do this. All right,
All right.
let's go ahead and
So her and Jack are starting to give us some resin. All right.
all right, Guy Allen, how do I take a handwritten recipe that I scanned and send it to be carved? Okay, I know what I want to say. Mark, I want to hear what you have to say first before I open my yapper.
There are many ways to skin the proverbial cat. If you already have it scanned in, you're ahead of the power curve. But how did you scan it? Did you scan it as a PDF? Did you scan it as an image, a JPEG? If you scanned it as a JPEG, you can load it into the software, do a bitmap trace, or even fudge around a little bit with some of the text in node editing. If you scanned it as a PDF, you can, depending upon what type of PDF you scanned it as, you can extract vectors straight from that PDF. No bitmap tracing involved at all. You
Yep, I
can
did that
directly
last week.
import it.
Yeah, you import the PDF, it'll be traced.
Yep.
So it's doing the same technique. You're importing vectors. So you're going to File, Import, Vectors, and then you go find the PDF
Right.
and bring it in. And yeah, and it pops right in as vectors. That was so cool.
Right.
Okay, so I used to do these, and I used to do them a lot. So if you're looking for the true handwriting, like my grandmother or somebody that had that really beautiful cursive handwriting, but the thing about handwriting is it breaks, and that means you have a crap ton of node editing to do, and you have to really try to be diligent about keeping that handwriting very true. So I was texting my daughter, and there's an app on the iPad that you can use that is meant for tracing. And so she has an iPencil, or just, you can actually buy them on Amazon. They're like 10 or 15 bucks. Anyway, you can use this app. I will find out what it is when she texts me back. You can actually go in and trace the lettering, and then make sure that the background is transparent, and send that to yourself as like an SVG, and then you can download that into your software. Because what you've done is you've actually, like, you can blow up the recipe on the letters, and so you can actually like trace it with the pencil, so then that way all of the vectors are connected, and you get a lot better, clearer image that or actual vector graphic. I'm like circling the drain here, you guys, tonight. You
Well,
get
I'm
a
following
really
you.
you get a really clean SVG when you import it into Vectric. Now, I will also say this. I have once carved a recipe successfully, just because they are so tiny, and I would never do it in any type of softwood. You have to do it in a hardwood. Like, it's not negotiable. And I would use a 30-degree V-bit. And the other thing is you need to consider how you're going to be finishing it. So, that can come into play a lot too. Are you going to be like painting it? Because, as you know, handwritten script has all of those little tiny fine details. I'll be really honest. I like to use a laser. I have a 7-watt laser and a 24-watt, but I use the laser. And you can actually, I can set the 24-watt or even the 7-watt at like 100%. And you can actually etch the wood with the recipe. And then if you want, you can take like a really super fine layer of epoxy and just like drag it over it and just kind of scrape it until it just fills in the grooves of where it's been etched. Recipes they're a lot more work than what people think. And the reason that you see like almost next to zero people carving recipes is because they are exceptionally difficult to carve. So I'll just throw that out there as a sign maker. That is something I get hit up every single year to do. And it takes me probably at least an hour to trace a recipe correctly and make sure that I'm keeping true to the handwriting, because the handwriting, just from a woman's perspective, that's where the sentiment is. It's not the actual recipe. It's seeing grandma's handwriting on that beautiful board. And that's what you're trying to keep intact. So if you have to go in and do like note editing and you're stretching and you're bending and you're really distorting the handwriting, you're probably not going to have a very happy customer.
I meant note editing, and like you mentioned, those little skips and blank spots, connecting those up. That's how I referred to note editing. But
oh yeah, yeah.
you
No,
know,
I just know because I'm speaking from my own like experience, because I've tried to import handwriting and I'm like, this is going to take me 10 days.
Especially if it's faded and it's been used and there's cookie stains on it, and every Rugrat's had their bits all over it, and
or like the lines of the note cards that you're trying to scan in. Procreate, that's the name of the app. It's on the iPad. Procreate, and there's actually yeah, that's the name of the app. Okay, enough. I'm not gonna.
Okay, hey, I got to call out Jeff Benedict here. He has made a contribution to us, donated $10. Thank you, Jeff. What he did is on the YouTube channel, just below the video, there's like a little money sign, and that is where you can say thank you for being here and helping you out. So, Jeff, thank you very much. And on that note, in the description of this video, there are lots of links for things that, like I've talked about. And if you want to get to the CNC Insiders, if you want to get the discounts I'm going to be passing out that I only do to insiders, then you need to be on the CNC Insiders list. That link is down below. And then, the checklist on the homepage of the IDC Woodcraft website is your CNC router bit setup checklist to cover all the things so you can make sure you start your carve without running into problems. And what spurred me to make that checklist is I saw somebody cut into a big epoxy pour table about the same size, and the Z didn't take on the machine, and it went in and it drove the surfacing bit down into, there's a $7,000 table that he was charging for somebody. All right. Fortunately, he could recover some of that, and I said, no more. We're gonna set up. Get a setup sheet out there.
Yeah.
And Mark has been preaching this for years, ever since I've been watching him.
I was Army Aviation, and as an aircraft mechanic, you didn't even go to the bathroom without a checklist. It's just the way it was. And if you got caught out working on an aircraft without the book open to the proper page of whatever component you happen to be working on, I mean, they're talking up to and including jail time, because people's lives are at stake. And posters all over the hangar, complacency kills. And if you get used to doing something one certain way, then there's a change and you don't know about it, and something happens, somebody gets killed flying in an aircraft you were working on, that's on you. And I didn't want that on my conscience. So I learned to flush numbers fast, learned to flush information fast, follow the checklist. Doesn't matter how many times you've done it.
And complacency ruins projects.
Yeah.
Complacency kills. That's all there is to it.
I can't remember if it was you or Mark, I think it was you in one of your videos. You said, hold on, I need to do a sanity check, because it was like you said everything and then you're like, okay, hold on, I need to do a sanity check. Did I load the right code? Did I Z everything? And like I do the same thing in my YouTube videos. I'm like, hold on, I need to like double check myself, triple check. Did I turn on the router? Did I turn on the vac? Did I like it's like 28 things.
I call it a sanity check because I get into those things if I can't remember if I did it. So let me just check real quick. And that's usually when I'm getting ready to touch off on the Z, on the touch plate. I'll pick it up and touch the bit and look over at Mach 4 and make sure that little LED lights up. I've got good connectivity. Okay, now I can go ahead and touch off.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Let's hit the next question. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to make a quick funny comment. Ellen has a thing that she says. She says she has CRS. I can't remember shit. That's her syndrome.
Exactly.
I love
we're
that.
good. As people, we are good for holding 3 things in our head at any given time.
Yes.
Right.
You
After
can do
that,
3?
yeah, I can actually do 3
My
sometimes.
hero. Got me beat.
All right. All right. So let's see. We've got Harold back here. He says, my son and I are starting a new business and trying to sell our CNC projects. The name is B&H Woodcrafters, or B&H Woodcrafters of Virginia. Going live on my 76th birthday, 1/7 of 24.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
Wishing you
That's-
much success.
Harold
Yes,
has Harold's the one I told you last time. He was in the service. He struggled with some PTSD, and we actually did a video, and he talked about how this has really helped him out. All right,
Mhm.
so Harold,
Good.
and this is Harold just messaged me not too long ago, and he said, in his, well, however he said it, he said, you just have no idea how much better things are. CNC changes lives.
Good,
It
good,
does.
good deal.
All right. So let's fire one off here. Let's see. A question. Your thoughts on the, I don't know how to pronounce that, rotary? Just got one very well built.
That's the CNC rotary. That's long mill. CNC is the name of the company that makes a long mill CNC router.
Okay.
See how they did that?
Yep, exactly. Yeah, I didn't get the rotary. I thought about getting it, but I haven't picked it up. It's actually on my list back there, but it's not on the highest priority things that I need to get done. So, but I've seen some other people do it, and I know that long mill, when they do their design work, because I talk to them every 2 weeks, that they are, number one, they like to design stuff themselves, and they like to make sure everything's working just right. Right. So
Good.
they're pretty anal about their designs.
Awesome. All
But
right.
cool for getting a rotary.
Yeah, very cool. Very a little bit jealous over here. I looks like Jeff is how I believe you pronounce your name. Morning team. I'd like your thoughts on the Onefinity CNC routers if possible. So I am team one.
Right
I'm
on
team
your
Onefinity. I can't say enough good things. I love my Onefinity. I have the Journeyman X50. I've been running it for about 2 years. I've had 0 problems, knock on wood. It's very user friendly. The support team is they've really upped their ante on the support team. They are only email support, but I can fire off an email in within almost an hour to 2 hours tops. I usually have a response back. So they are very, very quick to respond. The YouTube videos out there on the Onefinity are incredible. I will tell you the non-elite series have the Buildbotics motors, and the elite series all have the Masso motors, which are pretty. They're pretty beefy. Mark's sitting here shaking his head, going,
I don't know. I've never seen one, but I
Yeah.
do know the Mazo controller is a good piece of equipment.
Yeah. So I'm a huge fan. I actually have mine just sitting over here to the left of me. They're fantastic. Speaking of Onefinity, I was actually asked if I would be a maker. I don't know if it's like maker of the month, or I don't know how often they do that, but I was actually just in the Onefinity email that was blasted out. So if you are a Onefinity member, go check your email, because you may get to see that.
Maker of the month.
Oh, Garrett's gonna pull it up. I emailed it to him. I was so happy.
Yeah.
Well,
Where
awesome.
is it? Where is it? Darn it.
The link. There you go. Just double click the link.
Did it show up?
No.
Oh, I
It's still-
gotta read. Wait a minute. I gotta cancel that one, and I gotta add a different one. Yeah, Kate is maker of the month for Onefinity.
And valuable bonus style points to you for having less than 100 unread messages in your inbox, Garrett.
Oh,
Yeah. There it is.
I've just got mine worked down to 392.
Oh, you
nice.
did?
That's impressive.
So, yep, this is off of Onefinity's website. Kate is the maker of the month. Meet
All
the
right.
maker of the month. Women who CNC. So hats off
Yep.
to Kate for all the effort she's been trying to do to become, get her business off the ground. That's part of it, right?
Sweet.
So
Yeah.
Onefinity has now recognized her. Yay,
Very
Kate.
cool. Thank you. Yeah, it's an honor. I'm very, very pleased. I never thought I'd have the opportunity, but here we are. Persistence, friends. Persistence pays off. So just keep building. All right, let's see who we've got next. We've got Mr. Ken here. He says, making charcuterie boards using a setting for hogging out trays, then using a bowl bit for a smooth finish. Do I make one bit for 2 tool paths, or can I make 1 tool path for 2 bits?
Okay. You're going to be using a bowl bit and hogging out trays. You can do that with I'm assuming you're going to be using a pocket tool path. You'll use the bowl bit as your first bit, and then whatever other bit you want to use for your clearance bit. But generally speaking, I don't know. For hogging out, I just use my bowl bit. I don't bother with a second bit. I just take it in, decent passes and adjust the number of passes in the tool path. But I just use the bowl bit. I don't bother with a clearance bit.
Now I will add just a quick note to that. I just over on my Instagram over on Rise and Shine Wood Signs, I did a maple bowl for an epoxy inlay that I did, and I actually carved out, I want to say it like maybe an inch or inch or more. And in projects like that, you can't really get that kind of depth on with the bowl bit. So I actually used the hog.
Yeah, if you've got to go really deep, yeah.
Yeah, I did 3/4 of an inch. Actually, I take that back. I think it was almost 2 1/4 inches deep, because I had it. It was even a little scary for me. I had like the collet almost. I mean, it was maybe like an inch away, or like an eighth of an inch away from the top of it. And I was like, please, 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 please don't hit. I think we've all done that before.
Well, I have 2 sizes of bowl bits. I have a 3/4, and then I have a 1.5 inches. So it just depends on what I'm cutting. But generally speaking, one of these 2 is all I need. And I don't bother hogging it out unless you're going to go super, super deep. But then again, I'm using 1/2 inch shank bits. I don't know if you're using 1/4 inch shank or not. So yeah. I can drive these in a little bit further, but I generally don't bother with clearance unless I absolutely have to.
Yeah. That's the other big thing with bowl bits too. I saw one of our ladies in our groups, this was a while back. She actually bent a bowl bit, like the shank of it. And that's because the bit was not chucked properly. You have to remember how much force you're putting going down on those bits.
There's a lot of sideways.
Yeah, if it's not chucked properly, it'll just snap.
Yeah, one of the aspects here is if you're using like a Makita router, right? It doesn't. There's only so much power that the Makita has, and you're removing a lot of material that can bog down the bit and that. So if you're using a lower power machine like that, then I'm a proponent for hogging out first. When you have a low power machine. And in Mark's case, when you got a spindle, or over here on the Phantom, I actually don't need to do that. But
it also just depends on the project, because in his case, he's talking about doing a charcuterie board. I don't imagine he's carving 1 inch down into the material. He's probably doing a pretty small recess for like a salsa bowl or something like that, where you're looking at maybe going in 1/4 inch, maybe 3/8 of an inch, in which case there's no need to hog it out. But it's critical that you get that shank. I mean, I'm using 1/2 inch shank so everybody can see it. It's critical you get that shank up in there, and that's all there is to it. Don't poke out the back of the collet, but get it up in there as far as you can, and
that's why we got this puppy right here. It's got full bits on there, the wide body bits. Where is it? Right there. Just right there. Tells what you need to do. If you're a quarter, a third of the way from the tool, you can go full speed. If you're getting to the halfway point, you need to slow things down a little bit, and do not try to get as much as you can by chucking on the very end. You're gonna
No,
You'll
you're gonna
regret
throw
it.
a bit.
Just
Yeah.
3 people saying don't do it.
don't do it.
Right. Okay.
All right.
There's okay.
Oh.
After this, I got three things. I can pull it out now. Okay. So we got a couple other people that have contributed.
Nice.
Billy McGee,
Billy
$20.
Thank you,
Billy,
sir.
thank you. And Oz has given us another $20.
Oh, thank you, Oz.
Super stickers are so cool. I like it. The donations, it's the same thing. And
Yeah.
then Ellen has contributed $20 to us too. So
Aw,
everybody,
thank you,
thank you so much. That's one of the ways that we know that we're giving you something value
I
in
love
these
that.
things.
That
Yeah.
is so nice. Thank you, guys. All right. Okay, so let's jump back in here because we've got now 34 questions and we're at 55 minutes, so we best get to rock and rolling if we want that coffee.
Yeah. And at 9 o'clock, questions stop because we want to be able to get to the questions. So at 9 o'clock, we're gonna cut off asking any more questions. Julian won't pop them in.
Yep.
So if you've got questions, pop them in now. You got 5 minutes, brothers and sisters.
All right, there it is. 5-minute warning. All right. So it says, Palwinder says, I want to start with a 4x4 or 4x8 router. Which one is good?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're both great. Tell you what you do. Take the size 4x8 and double it. So 8x16. That's about how much real estate you need to place that 4x8. If you can't get all the way around that machine, it's too big. I'm pushing it with this. I have a 12x16 shop and this is a 4x4. I'm pushing it. You need to be able to get all the way around it. I have to turn sideways to walk behind mine.
That's what I have to do too.
Yeah. If you have the room, buy the biggest CNC router you can afford if you're going to use it. It's great to be able to throw a piece of plywood up there and start cutting, but ask yourself, how often are you really going to do that?
Facts.
Yep. That's one of the things. Always consider the projects you're going to make. Adirondack chairs, you need an 8-foot machine if you want to cut a whole Adirondack chair out of an 8 in one sheet.
Yeah.
I've tried it on the 4x4 here, and I can't get the whole Adirondack chair on it on a 4x4 sheet.
Yeah.
I mean, it's. I'm in the market for a truck. I may go to the landfill every once in a while. So should I look for a 5-yard dump truck? Because I might do that. Probably not. I just need to go get plywood every once in a while, so a regular truck will work for me.
I love the analogies you throw out there sometimes.
Yeah, I try to put it into language everybody can understand.
I'm always like, where's he going with this?
South.
Oh my gosh. All right. Let's see. All right. We have a lengthy question here. All right. So from Jerry Karp, hello, friend. It says, what you see is not always what you get. After designing a sign in Vectric Pro, it looks perfect. All the letters look properly sized and spaced. Using a 60-degree V-bit and a 1/8 inch bottom depth. After running the job, the letters are too close together and what does not look like the preview in Vectric. I'm thinking it's time to invest in formal education.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I mean, that's what Kate and I are always preaching. You've bought your machine, you bought your tool, and you've spent money to get your shop set up. So you got several $1,000s invested in it, and you bought the software, the Vectric software. Right, but there's more. There's so much to the software down in the dirt, if you will. And so, Kyle Ely is the one who's put out a course that'll walk you through it from beginners all the way up, and it'll help you make sense of it. Right, so you may want to check that out. That is linked in the description. Kyle Ely's Learn Your CNC Vectric course. Right, you've invested in everything else. Invest in this. Right. This is
Yes.
where everything happens at the end of the day. So invest in your knowledge.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And just a little tip out there, when you're trying to troubleshoot and figure out what's going wrong, always check the mechanical first. Always check the mechanical first. Did a bit slip? Did you maybe not have your X and Y axis zeroed? If your machine has drive belts, is a belt loose? Did it slip? Is a coupler loose? Did it slip? Always check the mechanical first. Don't trust your calibrated eyeball. Take an Allen wrench. Try to tighten that coupler. One slip
Yeah.
is all it takes to throw something off. And now these two letters who are supposed to be that far apart are that far apart, or they're right on top of one another because a coupler slipped.
Right.
And
Yeah.
you can't tell by looking at it. Get the wrench out and try to tighten it up. Always check the mechanical first. Software settings don't change themselves.
Right.
So
Yeah. There is a there's a lot to that. Sometimes when I'm working with we're big Vectric individuals here. Mark's really great with Aspire. I actually teach Vectric one-on-ones if you're interested in doing those. And then we all have 3 YouTube channels that teach Vectric tutorials. But I will definitely say a quick little tip that you can use is go to your circle vector that you can create a circle and then make it the same diameter as the bit of the width of the tool. So if you're using a 1/4 inch V bit, you can take that circle and put it in between your letters and then see, kind of space things that way. Then that way, when it dives down into the wood, that's how wide it's going to be. And then you'll have that, or if it's an 1/8 inch gap or whatever it is, especially if you're doing a flat bottom, you definitely have to account for, that width that the tool's diving in, or if you're doing, there's 5,000 factors that can go into when you're making signs with letterings, but yeah, it can be frustrating. We've all been where you are, so
yeah.
it's okay. All right.
Got a couple
Let's see.
more shout outs here. A couple more people have contributed.
Okay.
Yeah, Harold has donated $50.
Wow.
Thank
Thank you, Harold. That's very
Very-
generous of you.
Very nice.
You guys are so awesome.
You really are. And then from Guy Allen has donated $20 to us. So
Wow.
thank you. This is the way that we know that you appreciating what we're doing, taking time with you. That this is happening through YouTube. Down below the IDC Woodcraft version of YouTube, because we're on multiple different channels, is a little $sign, and then you click that $sign. That's where you can contribute. And thank you. That helps us as well and support what we're doing.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
All right.
So,
did you want to pop that
just
one
another
out?
one popped up? Yeah.
Oh my goodness, you guys are so generous, y'all.
Yes. Trade Skillers Anonymous. Hello, Garrett, Gate, Mark.
That's JR. That's JR Real. How you doing, JR? How you doing tonight?
What's going on, JR?
Nice.
Yes. Thank you so much.
He says, enjoy watching everyone's content here and on your channels. Keep up the good work. Fantastic. I love the support. You guys are so awesome. This is why I love this community. It's just, y'all are awesome.
Yeah. And I like that everybody talks to each other too. Right? They have these little dialogues. Sometimes they're probably just not even listening to us. They're just texting back and forth.
Oh, heck no. They're making deals out in the chat room right now. They're planning a meetup. I can tell.
All right, let's see who else we've got here. So we've got Charles. He says, newbie from Stratford, Ontario, Canada. Welcome. Welcome. So glad you are here for the fun. It gets to be pretty fun in here. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes it gets to be we get to be goofballs. All right. Chuck Freed, first time here. I'll watch to see how this works. Well, Chuck, welcome, friend. If you've got a question, you just have to make sure that you get your question in that first hour. And we're usually here until about 9:30, 9:45. We usually plan for 9:30, but I think we've only made 9:30 maybe a handful of times in the 9 months we've been doing this. So it's usually 9:45 or 9:45 here in Indiana anyway. Mark's in California, so he's on a little bit of a different time schedule.
Pardon me, ma'am. I'm in Oregon.
Oh, you're in Oregon. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. I didn't
we
know that. I thought you were
we-
in California.
No, I'm in Oregon, so I can keep an eye on California.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Very good. All right. That's it.
I lived in California for a while, but then I discovered I was free to go.
Okay. We
You're
always
free to
talk
go.
about your blonde, so I just assumed you were a natural beach bunny.
Oh, I do like the beach, but you know.
Do?
All right. Let's see. All right. Oh, here you go, Garrett. Neil, it says, are you going to make a 1/8 beast?
Yeah, I talked about it earlier. I've been testing it, and I've got final numbers for it now. So the 1/8 beast, which is going to be called the Badger, is in its basically its final testing phases. I gave my tech guy the feeds and speeds so he can get all the databases updated that you can download off the IDC Woodcraft website. You can get the right on the website. It's right at the top. Says database download. You can get it for your Vectric, Fusion 360, Carveco, and Carbide Create. And so we are working on updating those. So wait about a week before you update that. Free download database, and it'll be on there. Let me show you a picture of that bad boy again.
Hey, while you're pulling that up, I have a quick video maybe you guys can, or maybe you can create, is how to update one tool. So like when you release the hog and the beast and now the Badger, which is the 1/8 inch beast, how to upload just that specific information, or do you have to re-download the entire tool database?
So the way, that's a good question. The way the software works, if you follow the procedure that I show you, it won't overwrite anything. It'll just add.
Okay. There you go. That's great to know, because I know a lot of people are like, I don't want to lose everything I already had, and I'm like, I think there's a way to just add. You don't have to like replace every single thing.
But if you just want to add that information, then you can just go in and just add that information manually. So that's it right there. That's the little puppy. 140 inches per minute, 1/4 inch deep, so 80% step over, but I'm going to set it conservatively to 70%, and then 140 inches per minute. It rips up the wood. You can see that little hole that it made right next to it. So it's not designed to make a pretty cut. It's designed to get that material out of there super fast.
Yeah, you are not going to be making finishing passes with this bit. I'm here to tell you.
No, but I will tell you, it's really not a bad cut. Like, it's not like what you would think it would. It's not like super duper jagged. Like the edges of it, it's actually relatively
Look at the teeth on that joker, will you?
clean. I know. It's crazy.
It's there to remove material right stinking now, mister.
Yep. Yep, it is.
And there's no subtlety about it.
No.
There is no subtlety.
And it's not quiet.
Yep. Yeah. Well, the hog is a bit noisier. I'm having the hog redesigned a bit. So
really?
It's probably going to be the hog generation 2.
Okay.
It's got a little more deflection in it than I want, and that has caused some breaks. A few more breaks than I want. So I went back to the tooling company. So we got to look at this. Either it needs a thicker core in it or some other changes. So we've modified it quite a bit, and I'm going to get some samples in.
Yeah. I will warn you guys, if you are using those roughing bits, don't like panic when you hear it like screaming, because you're cutting through hardwood. I've cut through 3/4 inch, cherry, walnut, maple. You name it. It's noisy. So, because I was like, first time I went on, like, what's breaking? What's like something going to catch on fire? Because it's just it's a roughing bit. It's cutting through
Mm-hmm.
a good amount of wood. So
Yeah, it's
don't
meant to
freak
move
out.
material.
All right, so we've got Phil here. He says it's his first time here, so welcome,
Hey,
Phil.
Phil. Yes, welcome. We'll do the happy dance. Phil's here. Phil's here.
I think we need a happy dance every time we get a new first timer. Oh, we'll have to
I
see if
will
the
do
happy
that
dance
now
is
on.
coming.
I
All
will do
right.
that.
Okay, this is a great question for you two. What kind of preventative maintenance do you do to your CNC machine? From Jake.
Oh, Mark, you got the big bad boy. Let's start with that.
Basically, it depends. Every manufacturer is different. So the first thing I would say would be check with your machine's manufacturer, because there's a lot of proprietary things you have to worry about. Your manufacturer will know what type of oil, grease, or lubricant you're supposed to use. For me, it's fairly simple. I grease the bearings on my linear rails. I have an Avid CNC 48 by 48 Pro, and it's got linear rails and rack and pinion. So I'm also checking the belts. I'm checking the wear on the pinion gears, and I'm about ready to swap out pinion gears, by the way. Other than that, just make sure it's cleaned and lubed, and that everything is running smoothly and doing what it's supposed to do. I surface the spoil board when I think it needs it, and if you think it needs it but you're not sure it needs it, go ahead and surface it.
Good point.
And other than that, just basically kind of keep it clean, keep it dusted off, and if it looks like something's wrong, it probably is. Check it a little bit closer. Don't think, it'll be okay. You know, avoid some headache.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree with that more.
Yeah.
All right.
What do they say? What do they say about preventive maintenance? Schedule your preventive maintenance, or your machine will do it for you.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not
Fair.
a matter of if, it's a matter of when. Maybe you can save yourself 3 minutes by not lubing those bearings right now, but when your bearing decides that it's time to pack up, you're powerless to stop it. It's going to do it. So you can do it now, or you can do it later.
Some general maintenance you can do is monthly run around that machine with a wrench. Feel for loose parts,
Yep.
and just run around it with a wrench. I will say, do a little tramming check once in a while, because that tram is going to go out on you. Right? And tramming is very easy with a tramming bar.
Yep.
And like Mark said, on your screws, put a little light oil. All right, and
Yep.
there you go.
I catch people like to flick me stuff because I use grease. Avid CNC says use a moly grease, or excuse me, a lithium grease. So I use lithium grease. They're like, well, that's going to attract dust. And it's like, dude, you're lubing the bearings. You're not lubing that entire linear rail. You're lubing the bearings. You're making sure the bearings have grease on them, not the whole machine. And there's dust seals on it. It's not going to bother it. Just do it.
Do what the
I see
manufacturer says to do.
Kevin Wilkinson is saying why the pinion gear swap. On the Avid CNC, the pinion gears are a scheduled replacement item because they do wear. We're talking about the pinion gears that run on the rack that move the gantry back and forth and move the spindle back and forth along the X. They do wear down, and after I think it's like 18 months, 24 months, something like that, swap them out. And it's not expensive. It's not difficult to do. It's like 15 minutes. And while you're there, change your belts and you're done. So.
Well, I think that's pretty good. I know there's a lot of information out there about how to do it, but I think you hit the nail on the head right up. Check with your manufacturer follow their instructions because each one is different.
Everyone is different. Some will tell you to use a silicone lubricant. I won't let silicone lubricant in my shop. No, it's not happening. Some will say use an oil, some use a grease. One thing I forgot to say is take the collet and the bit out of your spindle / router when you're done using it. Just take it out, clean it up if need be, but take it out. If you leave that bit set in there for a week, maybe 2, as you're cutting, those resins and pitch and everything from the wood that you're cutting will get up in there and turn into concrete. And if you don't believe me, go to a yard sale and buy a router that's had a bit in it for the last 5 years. Now try to get that bit out. It will solidify. So take the
Good to
bit
know.
and the collet out of the router / spindle as soon as you're done with it.
I'm
Very
looking at
good.
my machine and going, I am guilty of what Mark just said.
Let me see if I am. Let me see. Am
I
I
see a desk shoe on there, so I'm guessing yeah.
nothing?
Oh,
Nothing in
Oh.
there, and all the collets are right here.
I'm guilty. I'm guilty. Mine's in there. I really didn't think about it that way, but you know, it's
No.
now that you mention it, I'm gonna go to a yard sale and see a router, and I'll be like, yeah, that's not coming out.
Right.
It's like one of those things when you start looking for it, it's you see hundreds of them, but when you're not looking, you never see them.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we're gonna move on to the next individual here. So we've got John. He says hello, first timer.
Oh,
Welcome,
happy
Mr.
day. Hey, John. Hey, John.
Yeah, oh, he's hilarious. Okay, let's see. So it looks like we've got Gerard. He says, question, hi, Julian. Garrett, Kate, not sure if Mark has one. Do you think the Onefinity Elite is much better than the M2K? So, I mean, I guess, you know, Team Long Mill, Team Onefinity. I mean, it's, you know, I don't know squat about the long mill, but.
No. So both machines are built differently. Right. The Onefinity is built with rails and bars, and it's a ball screw drive. It's got a different controller to it. So you're working with a tablet, right?
Mhm.
The long mill is built. I guess I want to say for economy, right? They designed the machine with the idea of budget in mind for people who go ouch at a $5,000, $4,000, $5,000 machine, right? And so they've built a machine that we would say all these machines are hobby level. That's what they call them. They can't classify them as pro or production.
Right.
Between the two, it really depends. You know, if you can go to the Onefinity, right? Even though me having a long mill, right, and you are wanting to go to Onefinity, and in some ways, it's built better. You're paying for it, right? It's built more rugged. It's got heavier bars in it. It doesn't have the consumables that the long mill has, which is the V wheels, right? So the long mill though has never let me down. Right? It's worked for me as well.
Yeah.
So
I will say the one thing that I love about my Onefinity is, let's say I had bought the X35, the woodworker. So I believe I don't even know what the cutting area is. Let's just say it's 35 inches. Let's just say that as a round number. And I wanted to upgrade to the X50, which is the Journeyman X50, the non-elite series, is a 36 by 48. So what I could do is I just buy a new rail, and then I just extend my other two out for the bigger cutting area. So I now went from 35 inches to 48 inches, and the only thing I had to replace was the rail. So plus it also has the capabilities of handling either a 65 or 80 millimeter heavy duty spindle. And I think, I don't know what it's called. I think it's just the heavy duty Z slider. I think that's maybe what they call it. I'm not sure. I haven't been on the website in a minute ordering new things. But I really do like my touch screen. I see a lot of people struggle with the G Sender and all of that stuff, and mine is literally a touch screen. It's very user friendly. So, but the
Yeah.
Elite, I mean,
I'll
again,
have
it
to
has a
defend. Yeah, I'll have to defend G Sender. It's actually a pretty easy one to work with.
is it?
Yeah,
I've never worked with it, so yeah.
Well, but I will say on this note, there are trade-offs, right? When you're doing a 150, you've got a ball screw, right? So you have a higher maintenance aspect to it because you got a lot of bearings inside the ball and inside the screw housing. Both machines you can stand on while it's carving.
Yeah, I can
I've
see
seen
a
lots
couple
of people
people
do
for
that.
dinner.
All right. Well, you can definitely tell where our loyalties lie. How's that? So, but that's what makes this a really fun, unique show because we've got Garrett, he's got the long mill and he's got a Phantom. I've got a Onefinity. Mark has the Avid CNC and a couple others. So, I mean, we're just kind of a full pot of vegetable soup right here. We just got a little mix of everything.
Before you start,
Go
I
ahead,
kind of look at it. I kind of look at this whole discussion as kind of like a Chevy versus Ford. People
So
like one, people like
basically,
the other. They're both good pieces of equipment.
Mhm.
The more important thing is that you be honest with yourself about what you're going to do with it. If you're wanting to
Absolutely.
surface cylinder heads, you're looking at the wrong thing. You should be looking into a mill and not a CNC router. If you're going to be carving mainly wood, then compare the two head to head and talk to people that own one of each. But it's
Mhm.
pretty much, I mean, they're both good pieces of equipment. They're both going to do what you want them to do,
Yeah.
but it is the case. Onefinity owners love their Onefinity. Long mill owners love their long mill. Um,
Yep.
and it's the truth with every other piece of equipment you're going to
Yeah.
find.
At the end of the
So,
day, why do we love them? Because we love to make shit.
mhm,
We are all creators at the end of the day.
yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so more questions about the machines coming in. So Thomas, he says, is HD 520 with a spindle the best choice for a 5,000 2-foot by 4-foot machine? Good choice.
That's another machine that's been out there for quite some time, and it's spread out throughout the market. And I would say yes, that's also a good choice. Harold, the yard sale guy, Harold, make a comment in the YouTube about your machine because you have a Shark 520, I believe, and give him some feedback.
I've
Okay.
heard good things about the I've heard good things about the Shark HD too.
Mhm.
So, just be honest with yourself about how you're going to use it.
All right.
And yeah,
Yeah. And if you decide to get it, send me an email. I'll send you a link. All right. That link will give me a little bit of credit for it. I'll be able to buy a burger and a beer.
There you
there
go.
you go. All right. All right, let's see. Who do we have next here? Matthew Kendall. The inch per minute speed is really dependent on the CNC you have, right?
Yes,
Yes,
it is.
that's the short answer.
Yes, it is. Some machines are just not rigid enough to apply a lot of force down. So deep cuts and deep plunges, you'll have problems. Uh, some are not. It depends on if you're running a router or a spindle. Your router may bog down if you try to push it too hard. Um, I say start conservative, and if your controller will allow it, adjust your feed rate on the fly. And because it really depends on the material. No two pieces of maple are the same, for instance. I've had maple change densities in the same 8 inches of wood. So it'll be cutting along just fine, get to this one place, and all of a sudden I got to slow down the feed rate because it's struggling to get to cut. And then the rest of it'll be just fine. So if you can, start conservative and adjust your feed rate up or down on the fly, and take notes.
Yeah.
Take notes.
Yep. Absolutely. Okay. So let's see who we've got next here. So Raymond, he says, when I run a project with G-Sender, the project is seriously downsized. The whole project is smaller than the diameter of my 1/8 inch bit.
Oh, talking about G-Sender and problems when you said that. This is the one thing, there's one setting in G-Sender, and it happens so infrequently that I had the answer once. It's one setting. But you want to check everything on your vectoric side, make sure you're done. You're just, if you're doing millimeter, what's happening is G-Sender is interpreting the code as metric. Right, so he's taking a 12-inch thing and now it's
I
cutting it
wondered
down
about
to
that.
12 millimeters.
I
Right?
wondered about that.
Okay.
Yeah. I would open up the G code and see if it's at the top few lines. So you open up G code as a text file. In the top few lines, if you see a G20 in there, then it's telling it it's going to be cutting in metric.
Mhm.
All right, and that should be G21. That means
Okay.
that the post processor's doing something. You need to be using the GRBL inch post processor, and doggone it, I'm dying to figure this one out. It's just one setting. I know it is.
Idea for a short.
Yeah, once I find it.
Yeah. I will say that is, since I'll fight fair. So since you have your one issue with G-Sender, I will say the one thing that everybody struggles with the Onefinity in the BuildBotix motors, not the Elite series, the BuildBotix motors is when you cannot do a tool change with the BuildBotix motors. The Z will not raise. It's something in the programming. They do not intend to modify it because the Elite series now comes with an ATC, so that just gets incorporated right into that. But you can run, so like let's say you're doing a pocketing toolpath and you have your 1/4 inch bit and then you have your 1/8 inch bit, and you run your 1/4 inch, it comes back and it comes back to Z, and then it's like right above the Z0 on the material, and you're using your joystick to like raise the Z or the X and Y, nothing moves, nothing happens. There's like a flaw in the system. So you have to run separate toolpaths. It's a real pain in the butt. You can still use the pocketing toolpath and add 2 tools, so you're not rerunning that same toolpath.
Okay,
You just have to save them as separate toolpaths, which is a pain. So
Jimbo Jones says in G-Sender, firmware setting number 13, inches/metric.
Yeah, let's got it. You got it up? You see it? Go to the firmware.
Yep,
The
got it.
button up to the left. No, it's not the firmware. It's the gear. The gear wheel. And let's see. Oh, I guess it is firmware. One of the other two. Why is it? Oh, I'm not connected to the machine, so it's not displaying anything. Anyway, go to firmware number 13, like you said, and make sure that's set to inches. Okay, so we got a thing going on here, right? So we have 22 questions, and we are at 9:28. So will Ellen and Jack win?
Daddy needs another cup of coffee.
I know. All right, let's do it. Let's see what we got. Sam
Knock 'em
says,
out.
will a 1/4 inch collar come with the new Badger bit?
A 1/4 inch collar. Do you want the reducing collar? No. We were just having a discussion about that, right? About something before we popped on. So reducing collars are nice things to use. The Badger's 1/8. Reducing collar is a collar that goes in your 1 inch, a 1/4 inch chuck, and then you can put the 1/8 bit inside of that. But you're using 2 different sleeves. You've got the normal collet and the collar. Right now, your potential for slippage is going up when you're doing that.
Right.
So I won't sell. I'm not selling it with it, but you can get it independently.
Yeah.
I have a 1/8 collet for the Makita, but I'm out of stock right now. I'm waiting for more inventory.
I know those go
Okay.
like hotcakes.
I
All
had
right.
200 of them. They're gone. I sold them to the CNC Insiders. They were the first to know. They had their 15% discount. They wiped me out in a day.
Well.
All right, let's see. Billy has a question. He says, Garrett, now that I have the CNC setup checklist, so we can now not make some of the mistakes that we can make, you create another checklist to not forget to check the checklist. Good vibes.
Ah. I'll let Mark answer that one.
Yes, and I'll answer it very easy.
He's going to have like some kind of like big old sticker or something.
Right there and right there.
See, I told you.
Emblazoned
He's gonna have a
across
big
the
old
top and bottom of my monitor.
check the checklist.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
It's a habit. It's just a habit we have to get into.
But
Yes.
sometimes you need to remind yourself. You look up, oh, yeah, that's right, huh? Let me see. All right. Yeah, I'll get that.
You have to think of your CNC as an airplane, right? You don't want your airplane to crash.
That's right.
Pilots use them. Right.
The beautiful thing about a CNC router is it's going to do exactly what you want it to, exactly what you tell it to do. The bad thing about a CNC router is it's going to do exactly what you tell it to do, even if you didn't want it to do that.
Right.
Fair point. All right. Let's see. Jimbo says, Garrett, last session you mentioned you were working on a one-stop spindle package. What would be the timing on that? 1 month, year? I am about to swap another Makita.
So this is the special thing that I am going to be disclosing to the insiders, right? I have a discount for a plug and play spindle, right? You got long mill, Onefinity, Shapeoko, Millwright. The company's got got it. So I just got the unit in today, and or a couple days ago, and tomorrow I'm going to start fiddling with it and start shooting video on it, and I'll have a discount for the insiders. Plug and play, literally. Right,
I'm
not all that
excited.
wiring stuff. This company's doing all that stuff to make sure it hooks up and you can go.
All right. Let's see. So we've got Glenn here. He says, morning from Perth, West Australia. Spindle or router for the home CNC setup? I'd say it depends on what you're cutting. From someone who is currently running a router, I've been using my router for 2 years and made countless really cool projects. It's kind of up to you, but I will say, depending on how often you're going to run your CNC, I run my CNC every single day, and I have worn out 3 routers. So, at this point, do I wish I would have bought a spindle? Yes, but people will tell you it's a luxury if you're just starting out. I mean, I guess it just depends on how much money you want to spend.
Yeah. I used a router for the first 6 years. Thankfully, it was an old school Porter cable, and I still have that router. Replaced the brushes, and that's about it.
Yeah.
But I now have a spindle. I've been using a spindle for the last year and a half, and I will never go back. I'll never go back. I so prefer the spindle over the router.
This is,
if you can afford it, go with the router. Go with the spindle, because in many ways it's false economy. Yes, a spindle is what, $500-$600, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But how many routers have you bought, Kate?
3.
It doesn't take long before it equals up the spindle. So, my rule of thumb is when I get to the halfway point, if I've spent enough to half of the replacement cost, I should have got it in the first place. I'll go ahead and get the spindle. Buy once, cry once,
Yep.
The
router companies have it on their sites. They're not designed for CNC machines. They're designed for short-term work.
Yeah. The biggest thing with a spindle versus a router, from what I've heard, is the noise is a lot less. It's significantly less. Like I was talking with Garrett before the live, and he was like, "Don't mind the noise in the back." And I was like, "What's in the back?" And he's like, "The Badger's running." And I'm like, "I don't even hear it." Like, and he was like standing like where he's standing now, and the machine's like, over there behind him. I'm like, I didn't hear what?
Yeah.
Like, it
But you
sounds
can
like
see I got the mosquito on there, right? So now that was my headset. That was my noise eliminating headset.
Oh, okay. Well, that might have done it too, but still.
But a lot of people will talk about a spindle is quieter than a router, and that is the case until the bit touches the wood. Then they're about equal.
Oh,
I
I mean,
really?
CNCs are noisy, and that's all there is to it. They're loud.
Okay.
If you're running it right, they are.
There's a couple factors in it. First of all, let's just say thank you to Jimbo. He contributed $20 as well. So
Very nice.
thank you everyone for who
He
has
says,
been
"Thank you.
donating.
Thanks for the spindle research. Take my money."
Deal.
Love it. That's fantastic. That's very generous of you. All right, we've got 19 questions. Let's see what we can do here.
Work it.
I know, right? David, he says, is there a place to find info on X Plus is out of soft limit for a Laguna in used with VCarve?
Reach out to Laguna. That is, I have heard of that before. Reach out to Laguna. They have a fix for you.
All right. Easy enough. All right. So he says, is there a good program to use to make STL files for carving? So I have someone that I highly, highly recommend. If you reach out to me at womenwhocnc at gmail.com, or the info's in my description, you can reach out to me and I'll hook you up with him. Or I know there's several groups that you can join to help you find a designer as well. But the one I know personally is dead on his work. He's excellent, and he has a very, very reasonable, usually week time turnaround. So that's
If you are looking to create your own 3D files, there are currently a little over 200 different software titles on the market right now that will create 3D models. They run the gamut from free to, well, how much is a seat on Mastercam right now, Garrett? I mean, some of them are 5 and 6 digit price tags.
Yeah.
So do a little bit of looking around, do a little bit of talking to people who do 3D modeling. It would be real easy for me to say Vectric Aspire all the way, but it depends on what you're modeling. If you're modeling parts for assemblies, maybe something like Fusion 360 or SolidWorks or Space Claim would be better. It just depends on what you're wanting to do. If you're making characters for video games, there are other programs that do that. It just really depends on 3D modeling is like auto mechanics. What do you want to do?
It's a whole different language.
Yeah. So
all right, well, let's see who we've got up next here. We've got Matthew. He says, for Mark, I have a home-built Gatton CNC like you had, and will be moving it to a new location. Wondering what needs to be disassembled and how much you can leave together.
At the very least, and this is going to be two-part here, okay, and I'll try to make it as short as possible. At the very least, you're going to have to take the gantry off, which means you'll take the motor mount plates off of the lead screws in the back of the Y, and the bearing plates off the front of the table in X. You'll want the gantry off. And you should be able to transport it like that. I would also take the router out, but hey. After you get it moved, if you did like I did and built it in place, be prepared to go through probably 3/4 of the reassembly all over again, because I still to this day, I think they finished the concrete on that old shop I think they finished it with a chainsaw. And the jury is still out as to whether it was running or not. There was nothing level in that shop. So one leg was taller than the other. I mean, it was just, the whole thing was just a mess. So when I moved it in here onto this nice level floor, I had to basically go through and, I hesitate to say rebuild everything, but I had to loosen up and modify everything and get it all back to the square. And that took a couple of weeks, because about the time I thought I had it right, I'd find something else was off and go explore down that rabbit hole and get it fixed. So I didn't have to replace any parts, but I did have to remove shims here and add shims there and just re-square everything because they're built in place. So good luck to you, man. I still didn't have it perfect when the Avid started showing up.
Oh, gosh. It's a challenge. It really is.
It is.
All right. Let's see. We've got a question here from Trevor. He says, how can I add tabs to a segmented 3D model with a model offset boundary of 0.5? When I preview toolpaths, it also applies the offset boundary to my tabs.
And it will. It's when you run a offset boundary, it's going to apply that boundary to the entire 3D model. And if you remember, Vectric software, doesn't matter if it's VCarve or Aspire, it models from the bottom up of your component tree. So the minute you add those 3D tabs to your component tree, it becomes part of the model. So any boundary offset, you say you have 1/2 inch, it's going to add that boundary offset to those tabs as well. If it's interfering with the rest of the model, look at your combine mode and make sure that you have the correct combine mode. Tabs, generally speaking, should be set to merge and not to add. Well, some cases they are to add, but any kind of an offset that you apply to that roughing or finishing toolpath is going to be applied to the whole model. And the minute you apply those tabs, you add those tabs, it becomes part of that model.
Okay.
So.
Very cool. Well, that's a great answer. Thank you for being so clear about that.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Let's see. So we have Doug says, have any of you tried automating workflow? I make trivets as a 2-sided cut, and I'd like to keep the machine working full time and not waiting on me to load and unload work stock. How can I do this? That is not something I've done.
Yeah, this is kind of a larger question to answer, but there is a feature in the Vectric software that allows you to do that. What is that, Mark?
The feature within Vectric? I don't know.
It's one where you can instead of
nesting.
That's what I was thinking. Nesting.
No, it's in the toolpath area where you can merge toolpaths. So if you got like multiple items and they
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You're just, it's just the merge toolpath. I know.
I read the question differently, so
I'm reading it differently too. That's why I'm saying it's a loaded question. Working with your workflow, it's really setting yourself up. It's a larger question. Go ahead.
It depends on your controller software. I think, Doug, what you're asking about is having 2 different areas on your table that you can use. And let me throw something up here. Change my camera. And is that the right one?
I think I know.
Kaboom. There we go.
That does make sense.
I have
what you're saying, Mark.
I have 2 separate work areas. If you notice, I have a line of holes here and across here. And then here I have a line of holes down here and across here. This is one work location that I have set up. This is another work location I have set up. So I can actually place a piece of material here and start carving it, mount another piece of material over here, get it all set up and ready to go. Then when this is finished carving, I change a setting in Mach 4, tell it to go over to this work XY0 and start cutting that while I'm unloading the material here, mounting another piece. Then when this one's finished, I can send it back over here and have it start carving here while I'm unloading here and putting a new piece of material down.
Got it.
If you don't mind me plugging one of my own videos,
No, I don't
Oh.
know. Just Julian, just make sure you note what it is. And
go to my YouTube channel and look for work offset. And
work offset.
And that's what that is. That's set up in your controller software. And Jimbo
Okay.
Jones is mentioning it down here. G54, G55 workspaces. Yes, I set up a G55 and a G56. And that tells the controller where on my work table the piece of material is located.
Okay.
The thing is, you have to have homing and limit switches, because if you don't home your machine first, none of that'll work.
Okay.
It's a waste of time.
Yeah,
So-
I'm not even sure why it didn't come to my head, because we talk about work offsets all the time.
I tell you what, I've set up 2 work offsets here, 2 locations, and I will never go back. I have an expensive,
Smart.
3-way touch plate that I don't use. Because I home the machine. I tell it to go to my G55 work offset location. It goes straight over there to that location. I set Z0 and go. I have not set my XY0 since I created those locations. It's
Wow.
that simple.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Very
If
cool.
you have homing on your machine, then you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Okay. So we have Doug up next. He says, on the deep pour project, are you going to take us through the flattening, sanding, and finishing of the project? I'd love to see that part too. Absolutely. I'm actually thinking about breaking this video down and start releasing segments of the video instead of making it like one 3-hour video, because I feel like you guys are just going to be like blah, 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 blah. So think about just starting uploading what I've got and then just keep part 1, part 2, maybe part 10 series. Who knows? Because, making these things it's a lot of work.
Inquiring minds want to know.
Absolutely. Yep. They're a lot of work. Okay. So let's see. Who do we have next? WXX question, what carbide grade is best for cutting wood?
All of them.
Carbide. Yeah, all of them.
All of them. The wood doesn't care.
Yep. There's a couple of grades of carbide. There's grade 9 and grade 6, but they're both good for wood.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's harder than the wood. I mean, if you are in production and you're putting out 1,000 parts a day and you got to get the absolute most out of each and every bit, then I can see there'd be a difference. But if you're a weekend warrior like me, this beast I'll probably be passing it down to my grandson. I'll never wear it out.
Facts. All right. All right, let's see. Chuck says, how can you modify script text that doesn't connect?
Weld function, baby. Weld function.
That's what I was just thinking.
It depends what version that you're using. On the older versions, you had to convert the text to curves. Then you could weld it. On the newer versions, I believe starting in version 10, you no longer have to convert it to curves. It converts it to curves automatically and then welds it together. But once you weld that text together, it's no longer a text object. It's now just another vector.
Yeah. Yep. Well, it gives you the option. It gives you the option to copy it or replace it. Copy it over top or replace it.
Yeah.
I just replace. Right. So the weld function is it is what's it under, Mark?
It is. I think it's just under edit objects.
Edit objects. It is second row.
First icon to the left.
Yep.
Isn't that scary how often we know? I'm like edit objects. I know you can almost third row to the left.
Well, that's one of the good things about the Vectric software is things are laid out where you would expect them to be laid out. You want to weld two pieces together, you're editing those objects. It's under edit objects right there.
Fair
You
point.
know, it's I want to draw a line. Where would that be? Under create vectors. Sure enough, there it is. So
All
Yep.
right.
I
Let's
love it.
see. 11 to go. Question. Do you sign your work? I don't have a logo, still figuring it out. I use a laser on mine, and that's how I do mine. I don't think, I mean, most artists sign their work, so if you want to sign your work, I mean, go for it. I don't see anybody stopping you. So
Yeah. If you're selling stuff, then you want to be able to have tracking back to you, right? That's where I say put a QR code on the back that takes them back to your website.
yep, that's
A lot of people have gotten lasers for just that purpose, especially the small little ones that are more or less portable. You can just set it on the back of a tabletop and burn your name in it real quick and go put the thing on a shelf and not worry about it anymore.
Laser pecker. The very first thing I ever bought was a laser pecker.
Yeah, there you go. And other people buy branding irons. I've seen people V-carve their logo into the back of things. If somebody really, really wants to know who did it, I'll sign it and put one of my stickers on the back of it, and then they can do with it as they wish. So
yep. That's a good way of doing it too.
I don't sell things. I have, oh man, I have 5 kids, 7 grandkids, and counting, and they keep me busy enough. I don't sell my items. Everything I make goes to the
Well, hello. Okay.
burritos
Oh,
for dinner.
Boys and girls, it's 9:50.
he's ready to go.
Is it? Holy cow, it is.
It is. We've been at it for just under 2 hours now.
Yep. All right. So
questions and knock this out.
All right.
And Ellen and Jack will win.
They will. All right. So we have a Facebook user who says, I'm not sure if I can ask questions here or if they were submitted earlier, but I have a beast bit and a couple of times I've used it. It kind of goes wonky on me. It takes my router on a side quest. Am I being too liberal with the settings, perhaps?
That comes back to your machine, right? So the beast is a very aggressive bit, and it's going to pull. So what you want to do is slow down your feed rates. Slow down your feed rate, shorten your depth of cut a little bit, and I won't do that because what it's doing, it's overpowering the stepper motors in the machine. And so it's basically going on a cut, and it's just the bit that is pulling so hard. It's doing so much work with that wood cutting away that it's overpowering the motors on the machine. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
Yep. I actually have a video on my YouTube channel. I look like a total nerd. I'm not gonna lie, like nerd alert.
And I don't.
Total nerd. I did a video on the beast actually testing the feeds and speeds, so you can go check that out over on my channel. Like I said, total nerd alert, but it is what it is. So there you are. Go check it out. But I have a Makita router and it did overpower mine, and it goes like this. And it kind of takes a side quest as well.
Anytime your bit is struggling, the first 2 things to look at are feed rate. Well, 3 things: feed rate, RPM, and depth of cut. You will develop the sense. You can tell when a bit is struggling. If it looks like it's trying to force its way through the material rather than cut it, up your RPM. You're trying to go too fast for how fast that bit's spinning, or slow down the feed rate if you can.
Yeah.
If something doesn't sound right, it's not right. If you're breaking bits, you're either trying to cut too deep or you're trying to cut too fast, or a combination of the 2.
Yeah.
So.
All right. I think if we hang on for a few more minutes, Garrett, we can probably knock some of these out because I think there's some really good questions, but not overly too lengthy. So All right, let's Jim and Cindy, they says, can you use an auto touch probe with the 1-inch surfacing bit? You can on the Z, but I would not recommend on the X and Y.
He's talking about the auto touch probe is something from Long Mill.
Oh,
And no,
okay.
yeah, no.
Okay.
But to Kate's point, you don't want to probe an X and Y with a surfacing bit with a touch plate.
Yeah.
You can just do the Z and eyeball your.
Right. You're not getting a 1-inch surfacing bit in there. I've got a 2-inch surfacing bit. I'm not getting it in that hole to touch off. So just a standard 1/4-inch end mill, touch it off, sets the X, Y, and then just touch off the top. That's my Z. So
Yep.
And then and I use that. I have a 2-inch surfacing bit. I touch it off of this all the time. But XY with a standard 1/4-inch end mill. The size of the bit does not matter on that.
All right. So we've got a great question from James. He says, what are some options used to produce colored engravings outside of epoxy? Paint. Paint all the way. Spray paint, chalk paint, acrylic paint, you name it. There's a lot of options about there.
I spray paint almost everything.
So there's that.
Stain.
He does. He loves his spray paint. Stain. Yeah, stain's great too.
Yep.
All right. Let's see. Okay, how about a 1/16 mil bit for stainless steel? Speeds and feeds.
You need to talk to a machinist about that. I'm a wood guy. I still think there's magical mystery voodoo in metalwork because, the lines on my tape measure ain't that small. So.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Who do we have up next?
I'm the wrong guy for that.
Metalwork is a different animal. Your CNC router is not built for stainless steel.
No.
All right. Looks like Gerard. Kate, can you use 1/2-inch shank bits on your Onefinity? Yes, you can if you have a spindle. So that kind of knocks that out.
Which, stay tuned. Garrett's going to be talking about that, especially the CNC insiders who are going to get some discounts. If you're not on the CNC insiders list, the link is down below. I'll be talking about that.
Don't be left out in the cold.
Yep.
Kate, does your Makita work well with the Onefinity? Yes. Yes. Always a Makita router for the CNCs. And like I said, I've had 3 of them. Honestly, I wouldn't have bought my last Makita router if I had not. I looked at the couple of the spindles that I really wanted, and they were about 8 weeks out on production. And I, like any other shop business, got to have my shop up and running. I don't have 8 weeks to sit idle. So that's why I went ahead and bought it. But yes, Makita works perfectly fine. Been running it for 2 years. Fantastic.
So now's the time to buy that spindle when you don't need it.
Yes. Well, we're going into Christmas season, so.
Well, I hear you.
After Christmas, I might
there
buy a new
Christmas
one.
Tax refund.
All right, Ronald, this is my first time here, and here as well in a short question, if it can be gotten to. I keep trying to make an egg tray, but keep failing when it comes to cutting out the egg pocket. I've seen those. They're like the wooden, and they have like 12 different eggs.
Yeah.
We're
kind of crunched for time. I wouldn't be able to go in and show you how to model one. Not in 2 minutes. Maybe I'll do a video. I don't know.
There you go.
Basically take a dish and modify it to an oval and boom, boom, boom. It can all be done in VCarve Pro.
There you go. I would reach out to one of your CNC groups. Somebody can probably help you with that. That'd be a good resource.
Yeah. It's easy to model, but we don't have enough time right now.
Yes. All right. All right, here. Trevor, newbie here from Minnesota, CNC machinable wax.
Oh, wow.
Wait, but Trevor's first time here.
All right.
Yes.
Trevor's
wax.
on board.
Now, is that for jewelry or are you doing it for some other molding process? Jewelers just fascinate me with this. I mean, when you think about that, they carve out wax and then use that
Mold.
as part of the molding process for making
Okay.
jewelry. God, it's fascinating stuff.
All
I can
right.
watch it all that. I can watch it all day.
All right. Papa's Workshop. Kate, are you going to add an ATC to your Onefinity? I cannot add an ATC unless I upgrade to the Elite series. I would love to upgrade to the Elite series. It's just, just extra toys for the shop. So it's on my list of things to get to one day, but right now, not currently. Okay, so I wanted to throw this out really quickly. Marcus, thank you for the $20 donation. Thanks, really appreciate the
Marcus.
knowledge sharing. Absolutely. Thank you so much,
Yeah.
brother.
I hope you guys are walking away with something more than what you walked into this tonight.
Yes. All right. I know we are at our 2-hour mark. We have 2 questions left, though. Should we take them?
Knock them out.
All right. Let's see. Ben Franklin. Oh my gosh, I love your name. Kate, do you surface your epoxy projects after they cure, or do you run them through the planer? I personally do not run my epoxy projects through the planer right off the bat. I will surface them, and then if I need to do like additional, I will run them through like my, I'm drawing a blank, not a
Surface
belt
planer?
sander,
Drum sander.
drum sander. Thank you. Yes. I have all these tools. I'm looking around going, what in the world? I'll run it through my drum sander, through that kind of thing. But I usually don't run it through the planer. I feel like the planer is a little bit of aggressive and it can chip the epoxy, and then it's, more work from that point on. So surfacing is usually my go-to. And I do use Garrett's 1.5-inch surfacing bit. Beautiful. Just lower the step over and you will have very minimal sanding. All right. Last but not least, at the 2-hour mark, Clayton. Hello, all. First time here. We couldn't just not answer his question. I mean, this is the first time.
Yeah, Clayton's here. Clayton's here.
See, I told y'all it was going to be a good wrap it up. Garrett and his 3/4-inch 90-degree V-bit I recently purchased. First of all, great bit. Thumbs up. Trying to figure out why my carve times increased using versus my 1/4-inch 90 bit. Love the bit though. So why did his time increase?
I'll have to look. I have to look at the settings on the bit. The only reason that I would think a time increase would be there, it's got a deeper cut, so it should decrease unless the step over's down.
Yeah, step over, feed rate in one bit versus the other. A lot of things.
It's a bigger bit. It's a bigger V bit. It's a 3/4 inch wide versus a 1/4 inch wide.
Right.
So I'm looking at the data right now. So it's 90-degree. Got that one set at a pass depth of 1/4 inch, step over 20%, 2% and 20% for V bit, 60 inches, and then the 90 1/4 inch is at a 0.1 pass depth, 2%, 20%, 45 IPM.
There's your answer. The feed rate were different, weren't they?
Yeah, 60. Well, it's 60 for the bigger one, and
Right.
40 for the small.
Right.
So it should be faster. You're saying it's going slower.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Don't know.
Okay.
So I'm not sure. I would have to see the program difference.
Yeah. I want to give a quick shout out really quickly to one of my friends here. So this is Sam Coleman. If you guys do not know Sam, he's doing some pretty awesome things. He's recently got into some 3D carving. I actually gave him a shout out to his link in my Onefinity Meet the Maker And so if you guys have not seen him, he's over at Coleman Designs on Instagram. He's doing some very, very cool things, very genuine individual. So go say hi to Sam. He's doing some pretty cool things over there. So,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
2 hours, 4 minutes. I think it's our longest one.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. 2
All right.
hours and all right, brothers and sisters. I'm Garrett with IDC Woodcraft. Thank you for hanging around the extra amount of time. Kate, our sister, who is Maker of the Month over at Onefinity, and Women Who CNC. Ladies, if you are a creator, join her group, Women Who CNC, on Facebook. It's for women only. And of
Yes.
course, we got Mark, the ever humble Mark, who has been there for years and years and years, and will still be
Just
here.
some guy. I'm just some guy in a shop. Thank you very much for having me, Garrett. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Always. I love having you.
Always a pleasure. And we will see everybody later.
See you guys.